अनि एडी स्टेज गर्ने हेलो एभ्रिवान, गुड मर्निङ। मेरो नाम चाहिँ रक्षा शर्मा र हामी आज चाहिँ एइसिसीबाट लाइभ बसिरहेको छौँ। सो आज चाहिँ हामी एइसिसी काठमाडौँ नेपालबाट लाइभमा बसिरहेको छौँ। सो आज मेरो नाम चाहिँ रक्षा शर्मा हो र आइ एम लुकिङ फर मल्टी डेस्टिनेसन कन्ट्रिज इन एइसिसी एज अ काउन्सिलर। आज हामी चाहिँ लाइभ बस्नुको मेन रिजन भनेको चाहिँ जुन अहिले हाम्रो हरेक स्टुडेन्टहरूको लागि र उहाँको प्यारेन्ट्सहरूको लागि एकदम हट टपिक बन्न गइरहेको छ, जुन चाहिँ क्यानाडाको रिसेन्ट रुल्स एन्ड रेगुलेसनमा उनीहरूको पोलिसीमा के चेन्ज भइरहेको छ। त त्यो बारेमा आज हामी हाम्रो डाइरेक्टर अफ पार्टनरसिप मिस भिक्टोरिया स्टिलसँग चाहिँ एकछिनमा कुराकानी गर्ने नै छौँ। र तपाईँहरूलाई जे केही क्वेरिजहरू छ रिगार्डिङ अब क्यानाडाको पोलिसी चेन्जहरू, रुल्सहरू, कस्तो खालको कलेजमा जाने, कहाँ पढ्ने, लोकेसनहरू, त्यस पछाडि वर्क पर्मिटहरू, त्यो बारेमा तपाईँहरूले क्वेरिज राख्न सक्नुहुन्छ। सो बिफोर गोइङ अन लाइभ विथ भिक्टोरिया, म चाहिँ एइसिसीको बारेमा छोटो मिठो इन्ट्रोडक्सन दिन चाहन्छु। कतिलाई त थाहा नै होला एइसिसीको बारेमा, जुन चाहिँ नेपालको वान अफ द टप रिनाउन्ड कन्सल्टेन्सीमा पर्छ। एइसिसी चाहिँ तपाईँको 2008मा इस्टाब्लिस भयो। सिन्स 2011देखि नेपालमा सक्सेसफुल्ली रन भइरहेको छ टु टिल डेट। सो हाम्रो चाहिँ मोर देन 16 कन्ट्रिजमा अफिसेसहरू छ विथ 50 अफिसेस। एन्ड नेपालमा चाहिँ हाम्रो 3टा ब्रान्चेसहरू छ, जुन चाहिँ काठमाडौँ मेन ब्रान्च भयो, एन्ड देन पोखरा एन्ड चितवन। तपाईँहरू नेपालदेखि जहाँदेखि पनि लाइभमा बस्नु भएको छ उहाँहरूले चाहिँ हामीलाई कन्ट्याक्ट गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ रिगार्डिङ द फर्दर काउन्सिलिङ। अनि त्यसपछि कुरा गर्दाखेरि हामीले अस्ट्रेलिया, युएसए, क्यानाडा, न्युजिल्यान्ड, युके, जर्मनी, आयरल्यान्ड जस्तो डिफ्रेन्ट कन्ट्रिजहरूमा स्टुडेन्टहरू पठाइरहेका छौँ सिन्स 12 इयर्स। हाम्रो चाहिँ 94% भिजा सक्सेस रेट छ सिन्स लास्ट फ्यु इयर्स। एन्ड हाम्रो मोर देन 100 क्लाइन्ट्स डाइरेक्ट रिप्रेजेन्टेसन गर्छौँ है हामी। अब इन्ट्रोडक्सन चाहिँ भइ नै हाल्यो। हाम्रो अफिस एइसिसी काठमाडौँ चाहिँ तपाईँको चारखाल, दिल्ली बजार, सनराइज बिच पार्क ठ्याक्कै अपोजिट टु टाइम्स कलेजमा लोकेटेड छौँ। तपाईँहरू लोकेसनमा कन्फ्युज हुनुभयो, यदि काठमाडौँ भ्यालीभित्रै हुनुहुन्छ, काउन्सिलिङ चाहनुहुन्छ भने पछाडि प्लिज हामीलाई भिजिट गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। एन्ड बिसाइड दिस हामीले सक्सेसफुल्ली क्लासेसहरू पनि रन गरिरहेको छौँ, जुन चाहिँ लेभल 9मा छ। आइएल्स, पिटिई, टोफल, एसएटी, जिआरई, जिम्याटहरू क्लासेसहरू रन भइरहेको छ। सो हरि अप इफ यु आर लुकिङ फर क्लासेस लाइक दिस। सो इन्ट्रोडक्सन भइ नै हाल्यो। अब हामी चाहिँ जुन अहिले क्वेरिज चलिराखेको छ त्यसको बारेमा चाहिँ भिक्टोरियासँग फर्दर कुराकानी गर्छौँ। Hi, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I apologize about my voice. I'm getting over a cold.
That's totally fine, and thank you for making time Yeah, we are very grateful to have you here in our live session. We are live on Facebook from AECC Global.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good. I think one of the, seeing the times right now in Canada, one of the big advantages with AECC is that I'm here on the ground. And so, with AECC having a director of partnerships in Canada, I'm working closely with the institutions here. I'm getting up to date information, working with a variety of stakeholders, and relaying that information back to the teams globally, including the team in Nepal. So I think it's really important for everybody to know that AECC as a company has somebody here in Canada getting all of the updates.
Yes. Yes, and recently we are so many students are in wants to know about the recent changes in Canada, about the colleges, about the work permit and PPP, that is public private
Mhm.
partnership. What does that mean? We are so even student wants to know what's going on Canada.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
will
What's
this
going
affect,
on? Yes.
yeah, and will this affect us, Nepalese or any international student to study in Canada about the work permit?
Sure. So,
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll try to give a little bit of a review of some of the announcements that have come out. I understand your frustration. I empathize with a lot of the questions and concerns that you have. Please know that, a lot of us in Canada feel the same way. On January 22nd, on Monday, last Monday, the federal government, IRCC Canada, put out an announcement that was referencing many policy changes that will come for international students looking to study in Canada. The biggest announcement, the biggest indicator there was the 2-year cap, a temporary 2-year cap placed on the number of study permits that will be issued. This is globally. This isn't for any particular country. This is for international students coming from any country. So, this cap that will be placed on study permits will now roll out in each province and territory. So each different province and territory in Canada will be allocated a certain number of study permits. We don't know what that will look like. I shouldn't be smiling. I smile when I'm anxious about something. But that is the news that we are all waiting for. What we do know is that the government has made reference to the provinces of BC, Ontario, and Nova Scotia as being overpopulated with international students at institutions. So perhaps looking at other locations in Canada would be a great place to start. Um, Another announcement that came out made reference to students now needing a letter of attestation to go alongside their study permit application. So that is effective immediately. Any student that applied for their study permit prior to January 22nd, it looks like you can move forward in the process as you normally would have. Anyone who has yet to apply for their study permit, you will see on the IRCC website, it says that you need that letter. We don't know what that letter looks like, and we don't know how the provinces will provide that letter. So at the moment, everything is stopped, unfortunately. Hopefully, next week, we will also receive an update on how each province will issue that letter. And obviously, I will let my team in AECC in Nepal know as quickly as I can. But you might hear the news before me as well. So that's one major thing that is also slowing everything down. Thirdly, the cap will not count towards master's, PhD level programming, as well as secondary and elementary schooling. So we are seeing more and more students come over for kindergarten to grade 12 studies. If you do have the grades, if you've previously studied a bachelor's degree and you're looking to attend a master's program, we highly encourage you to come in and speak to the counselors. AECC has a lot of partnerships with many universities who offer master's programming. So if you have the grades and you have the desire to study a master's program, I highly encourage you to. There's many different types of master's programming. And it looks like that process will be a little bit smoother. In reference to PPPs, or public-private partnerships, I know that this was a really big shock and quite a big change. So on January 22nd, IRCC announced that PPPs will no longer be, post-grad work permits, or PGWP, will no longer be available at public-private partnerships, or PPPs. So any student who's looking to enroll in a PPP will not be qualified for a post-grad work permit after. If you've applied to a PPP program and you are thinking about going to attend, certainly talk to AECC staff about what your options are. AECC as a company has direct contracts with many of the public partners. And so definitely we encourage you, again, to go and speak to AECC. What can I do? If I have entry for May intake or entry for fall intake, are there other options? If a post-grad work permit was something that was really important to you, there are certainly options. Likewise, we're also going to wait from updates from these PPP partners. What's going to change? We're not sure yet. Certainly, the presidents and the schools involved in these agreements are speaking to the government. Announcements are coming out across the board from university and college presidents. So we'll continue to keep you updated on any changes with the PPPs. The last announcement made reference to open spousal work permits. And so who will be able to be eligible for a spousal work permit? Right now, the government made reference to master's and PhD, as well as professional programming like medical or law programming, but we still await further information about that as well. I feel like I'm a news correspondent right now. And so, that is basically the recap. Certainly, make sure that you're sticking to reliable sources. There's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of gossip, there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of what ifs, a lot of speculation. Definitely make sure that you're checking in with reliable sources, obviously AECC being one of them. You're reading the words on the IRCC website for yourself so you can better understand what the changes are that have happened, and be able to better plan for the changes that you might need to make in order to navigate this new reality that we have in Canada. Okay, I'll be quiet for a minute. Is there any other questions that I can answer in relation to the policy changes?
Okay, thank you so much for all of this information. Going forward, would you like to suggest some colleges beside Ontario, British Columbia, or Nova Scotia? Because since it's been 2 days, students are looking for the colleges beside this location. So, would you like to give some light on that?
Sure, absolutely. And it's important to keep your options open, in a way. And because I'm an optimistic thinker, sometimes these changes force us to think outside of the box. They force us to take a new path, which might lead to something better. And so certainly looking at alternative study locations, if you were planning on going to British Columbia, Ontario, or Nova Scotia, it's not a bad option right now. But also certainly wait to see how this rolls out province to province. In Atlantic Canada, what we refer to as Atlantic Canada, there's many different provinces. There's Newfoundland, New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia. Am I forgetting somebody? I hope not. Any Canadians on the call are going to be laughing at me. No, that's everyone. AECC has multiple partners there. We work with Mount Allison University. We work with St. Thomas University. But I would also keep your eye on Nova Scotia as well to be able to see what sort of study permit numbers Nova Scotia is able to receive. As we know, Cape Breton University is really popular for international students. It's a great institution, but there's many other institutions in Nova Scotia as well that should have some available seats. So Atlantic Canada is certainly a place that you can consider. Some of the friendliest people in Canada are said to be living there. And there's also some good career opportunities post-graduation. Beyond Ontario, if you're moving farther west, you might want to consider what we call the prairies. And the provinces in the prairies are Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. So this is kind of the middle part of Canada, no ocean on either side. And the prairies, a lot of institutions have become very popular recently for many international students. The cost of living is something that is a big consideration. It's much more affordable to live in some of the locations within the prairies. And again, there's really great career opportunities in the prairies, often with higher pay as well. So AECC partners with many different institutions. In Manitoba, we work with the U15 prestigious University of Manitoba. Awesome university, awesome team that works there. We also work with Red River College and a few other institutions as well. Manitoba is a great place and certainly somewhere that many international students have been studying for decades. Moving a little bit more west, you're looking at Saskatchewan. And again, we have some great partners there with the University of Regina, University of Saskatchewan, as well as Saskatchewan Polytechnic. And then in Alberta, which is increasingly popular, we have many different partners as well. Bow Valley College, we work with Olds College, we work with SAIT, or the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, Norquest College, Keano College, as well as MacEwan University, and a few more. So lots of really great options, tons of different types of programming. And again, when I made reference to maybe thinking outside of the box in terms of what study location you might end up in, perhaps looking at a different location to study might make you think about a different type of program to study as well. So certainly come in and talk to AECC about the different programs available at some of those institutions.
Yes, thank you, Victoria. ACC is always there to guide a student way to study and what location should they choose. About the colleges, is we have number of colleges and university with as a direct partnership. We work with them directly. So thank you for all the information, and I would like to ask about the popular programs to study there, for, as in future perspective, which
Yeah.
the government must have been um, given will give visa, depends on the programs.
Yeah, maybe. So,
Yeah,
that
because
would be a good guess.
yeah, to landed on Canada, they might get visa easily. Would you like to give a brief description about the popular programs over there?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, I think that one of the main objectives and a future aim is to certainly align international students more readily with where there's career opportunity. What are the job demands in Canada? Right now we have many students that are studying many of the same programs across institutions. And ideally, we'll see more students entering fields where there's greater demand for their skills. And so when you graduate from a college or university, you're able to find a job easily. It won't be as competitive to find good salary. And so how the government will go about aligning, where there's capacity within certain programming to better meet job demands of the local economies. Hopefully, these are some of the steps that we are taking right now to move in that direction and to be able to present these opportunities to you more clearly. Um, Again, I always say think outside the box. Many students are taking a lot of business programs, which is fine. There's always opportunities in business, but think about what is something that, is different. What's a program that I can specialize in at a specific institution in a specific region in Canada because I know there's job opportunity. And so when you think about something like energy in the environment, this is really important across Canada. It's really important globally, but in Canada, there's a lot of new initiatives towards energy, taking better care of the environment. A lot of programs coming up in agricultural business, agricultural technology, agricultural management. Looking at water resource management, looking at gas and oil industry is huge here. And so what you're doing is you're taking kind of that aspect of business that you might like, be it, the finance side or the human resource side or the marketing side, and you're just aligning it to a specialization that might need a certain region. So certainly look into some programming around energy and the environment. I also, right now encourage a lot of students to think about construction and the trades. Um, your traditional trades being plumbing and electrical. These are very well paying jobs in Canada. A lot of our older generation is retiring. There's a lot of job opportunities opening up for these skilled labor trade jobs. And certainly, we are always looking for electricians and plumbers. Houses are going up. As you know, we have a housing crisis. So there are mandates to grow more accommodations for everybody to live in, which takes people, to build the houses. And so these are very respectable, well-paying jobs in Canada. You can look at things like architectural technologies, GIS systems, just that's what I mean about thinking outside of the box a little bit. What's something more niche where there is some demand? Lastly, and something that is not a secret at this point, is anything related to health and medical sciences. Canada's a huge country. It's a small population, but it's an aging population. And so anything in the health related field, and again, not necessarily nursing. We certainly need nurses, but there's many other career opportunities within that field to consider. You can look at any sort of leadership or management within the health sector. That could be within hospitals. It could be within community services. You can look at anything to do with kind of medical imagery, or being a medical lab tech, medical lab assistant, and then anything related to kind of recreational and community services as well. This is a growing demand. And I know that regions, municipalities, cities, provinces across Canada are looking for people in these fields. So don't do what your neighbor wants to do. Don't do what your best friend wants to do. Really give a think about where your passion is. Go on to the institutional websites, look to see the options, sit with an AECC counselor, and they can certainly walk you through what are your strengths, what are you good at, what are you passionate about, and how do we kind of make those things come together to find a program that's right for you.
That's great, lovely. Now we have started getting queries on live session. So we shall start now. Arjun? Click on submit. Click on. Sure. Okay, we have question. Okay, we have question here
I can see that.
from Sandhya Shrestha. And the question is, hello, I have applied for LMIA work permit and I already received LMIA. What will be the changes for that process?
I don't know. I know that that's not the answer that you want. LMIA is not something that I'm overly familiar with, mostly because I'm familiar with study permits. And, for students who are looking to enter Canada to study at either K to 12 or post secondary levels. So anything to do with kind of foreign employment or moving over for employment, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure how the processes have changed for that. I mean, certainly go to the AECC website. You can speak to an immigration consultant about that. But certainly I think LMIA is something I'm not overly familiar with, only because I work with study permits. I'm sorry. My apologies about that.
Okay. We have next question here. So what do you suggest to the students who have applied for PPP college and waiting for visa?
Yeah, great question. Um, I suggest you think about how important a postgrad work permit is to you. And I know that seems like a silly thing to say, but ultimately that should be your decision maker. At this point, if receiving a postgrad work permit is part of your journey to coming to Canada, and you would like to be able to have the opportunity to stay and work after your program, you should probably look at another institution who will be able to offer you a postgrad work permit. I know that there are many colleges across Canada that will be opening up more seats to try to absorb some of the students who will no longer want to attend PPPs. I spoke about some of those institutions today. And so, first and foremost, talk to your family, think to yourself, how important is that post-grad work permit? And if that's one of the top priorities for you, then, it's probably important to reconsider where you would like to study. And again, AECC has a lot of great options. I am unclear on any sort of changes that the PPPs have made in terms of, refunding any money that you might have paid or, anything like that. I don't have any answers. I do know that, these are trustworthy institutions that are just as surprised by the rest of us or as the rest of us on what happened. And so they will certainly move forward, in terms of taking the right trusted steps with the students and being able to advise you. But maybe it's time to come back into AECC and talk to somebody about an alternative. That's what I would suggest. Ask questions, which you're doing right now, and then, figure out an alternative plan. I think that's probably the best thing.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Kumar Sevakoti, for your question. Hope you're clear now. So, moving forward, we have a question from Vinayak Casey. Do
Yeah.
students applying for postgraduate programs need attestation later, and can spouse of postgraduate students apply for, what's the question, as OWP?
For the open work permit. I understand. Yeah. Great question. So sorry to sigh, it's because it's confusing, and so I want to make sure that I'm explaining this with as much clarity as possible. Thank you for your question. In terms of the announcement that was sent out or that was presented on Monday, postgraduate programs only include master's and PhD. So a postgraduate diploma, a postgraduate certificate, a post-bac program do not count towards a postgraduate program. And this is the language that we use globally is a little bit different. Often in Canada, when we refer to postgrad programs, we really mean master's and PhD. So if you're applying to as far as what the announcement said, and again, I'm hoping for greater clarification next week. As far as the announcement said, if you're applying to a master's or PhD, you do not need that attestation letter. If you're applying for a post-grad diploma, a post-grad certificate, or a post-bac program, any other post-grad program that is not a master's or PhD, you will probably need the letter. Probably, maybe, but that should be clarified next week. Can the spouse of a postgraduate student apply for the open work permit? So the government had said, they will continue to have announcements coming out regarding the open work permit for spouses. Right now, if that postgraduate program is a master's or PhD, you should be fine to proceed with an application for the open work permit for the spouse. If the postgraduate program is another type, like I just mentioned, you might want to wait until we receive further clarification. Does that answer the question? I hope that that helps.
I hope Vinayak got his answer.
Me too. I did the best I could.
Yeah, you're best. We have a question from Harindra Gupta.
Mm-hmm.
I am graduate in Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. Can I go for Master in Veterinary Science in Canada?
That's pretty specific. I'm a graduate of a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. Can I go for a master's? If you, uh, I'm unsure. I don't want to. I don't want to say yes or no. Certainly come in and talk to us, and we can let you know what options there are for veterinarian school in Canada. Typically, if you have a doctorate in something, it would be kind of counterproductive to step back and do a master's. Like if I have a PhD in philosophy, why would I go do a master's in philosophy? And so perhaps the ACC team there can inform you better of how that might affect a study permit approval. Um, sometimes we've seen historically if a student has an MBA from their home country and they apply for an MBA in Canada, they might get a refusal because why do you need two MBAs? So I think certainly it's a matter of figuring out why you want to go back and do a master's. If it's to change course in terms of the some specialization, um, but also how that might affect your study permit. That's so come and talk to us, and I can certainly help the team discover schools that offer veterinarian sciences as well.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Harindra, you can also visit us at AECC. So moving forward, we have question from Sabitra Pandey. What about postgraduate in Fleming College, Toronto?
So Fleming College Toronto is a PPP.
Yes.
So Fleming College Toronto will no longer be able to offer postgrad work permits. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the question is. Like what about it? You can still attend Fleming College Toronto if you like. However, Fleming College Toronto will not be able to offer a postgrad work permit. So that is for any program at Fleming College Toronto. No postgrad work permit will be available. You could attend Fleming College, which is in Peterborough, which is a lovely city that I visited with some of my colleagues in the summer. And Fleming College proper will be able to provide a postgrad work permit, but not Fleming College Toronto.
Great. Hope you are clear, Sabitra, and thank you for your question. We have a question from Susan Giri. Can BBS students go for master in health sector?
What's BBS? Bachelor of. Sorry, what's BBS? Can anybody?
BBS means Bachelor of Business Studies.
Okay, Bachelor of Business Studies.
Yeah.
Yes. So it will be. That's a great question. Thank you for the question. Obviously, the health sector is quite large. And so, there's a lot of places where business and health merge together. I referenced health management and health leadership earlier on. Certainly, a business student can go in for a master's in health. You won't be able to go for a master's in like kinesiology or, like physiotherapy or something. But there's certainly master's programming in like community services, like I said, public health services, And there's a lot of great programs in Canada. As long as you have decent grades, and certainly AECC can help determine the strength of your transcript, we can certainly recommend some programs for you. It's a good idea. We need more people with business skills working in the health sector in Canada.
Hope you are clear, Mr. Susan, and thank you for your question. We have a question from Subham Modak. I am 17 plus student and I had completed my plus 2. Can I apply for September 2024 September? Is there any kind of issue below 18 plus student?
So I'm assuming you mean you're 17 years old, right? 17 years old.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes.
Okay, 17 years old. Can you apply for 2024? So there's no issue with you being under 18 at all. There's many countries where students graduate high school and they're not 18 years old yet. Essentially, you can also find support for guardianship in Canada. And so any college or university will tell you about the guardianship services that are available. I highly suggest that you live in residence, or you choose to live in homestay with a Canadian family, because I think it'll just make the transition a little bit easier than just living on your own. But absolutely, there's no restriction on the age that you need to be to apply to enter any post-secondary studies.
That's great. So Subham, you have no issue if you're 17. So you can start taking classes. You have if you have not taken any classes, English classes yet. So you can apply Canada. Moving forward, we have question from Ayush Dangol. And his question is, what about the students who are waiting to apply for September intake 2024? What do you truly suggest, and will we be able to work part-time to support and add on my tuition fees?
Yeah, that's it. So great question. And I understand the emphasis on what do I truly suggest. Um, I think if you're waiting to apply to an institution for September 2024, don't wait. Institutions are still accepting applications. They'll still process your application and you'll still receive, hopefully an admission letter for an institution. The challenge right now is the study permit processing. And so by the time you apply to a school for 2024, often it takes the institution, 10 business days at least to be able to process your application. In 10 business days, we might know everything might be better, everything might be clear. Study permits might be, back in process. So I definitely, excuse me, encourage you to apply to an institution. And then, everything should be resolved. There will be a lot of loud voices in Canada if study permit processing is delayed much longer. Institutions will be really upset. And so I imagine the government will need to roll things out quickly. So I truly suggest that you apply to a school, and I hope that the study permit process is resolved by the time you receive your admission letter. Will you be able to work part-time to support your tuition fees? So right now, you're able to work a maximum of 20 hours a week in Canada to help pay your tuition fees. There's, so basically we've just moved back to what the maximum was a few years ago. 20 hours a week is considered part-time. There's a lot of jobs available for students. You can look on university websites. We can kind of talk about this in future sessions as well, but certainly you can work part-time. And, I'm sure that your family would be happy if you choose to contribute that money towards your tuition fees. but you are limited to 20 hours a week.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope you're clear, Ayush. We have another question from Rita Subedi. What about the postgraduate program in Fanshawe College at Ontario, London?
Okay. So programs at Fanshawe College in London, Ontario, um, are open for business, for lack of better words. So Fanshawe College in London is not a PPP. There is Fanshawe College at ILAC, Fanshawe Toronto. That is a PPP. Excuse me. But Fanshawe College in London is a public institution. So I don't know what you mean about what about the postgraduate programs. I'm sure that there's some postgraduate programs available at Fanshawe College in London. You'll have to speak to AECC about what programs are open, but those programs will be available for postgrad work permits. Again, we don't know what the caps will look like for Fanshawe College, but certainly you can plan to move forward with an application for Fanshawe College in London.
Yes, yes, clear. So, Rita, I hope you are clear. You can visit us for further queries. And Fanshawe College London doesn't come under PPP, so you can go for it. Do visit us. And thank you for your questions. Another question is from Ritesh Nepal. Could you please let us know more about attestation letter of college? Though Quebec province colleges had already approved attestation, so what do you think international coming to Quebec province? Can they get good college and good future in that province?
Great question. And admittedly, I omitted speaking about Quebec earlier when we were talking about other provinces. So I appreciate your question. Thank you. Um, the just bear in mind that the attestation letter comes from the provinces. It's not from the institution. So this is where, there's going to be a bit of a delay in how is the province going to issue this letter. It's not like a letter of admission or a letter of acceptance from an institution. It will be a complementary document that comes from the province. How does that happen? I don't know. None of us know yet. So you're absolutely correct that Quebec has provided attestation letters. Perhaps the rest of Canada will follow the process that the province of Quebec uses now. That might be a good guideline if it's working efficiently. And so, yes, good job. You're right in calling that out. I think Quebec is a good option for international students. Certainly, there's some great institutions in Quebec. I know that in recent years, students have shied away from Quebec due to some of the institutions closing and politics there being a little bit challenging. But, absolutely, I just left Quebec out because there isn't generally very much demand. But you can certainly speak with AECC about institutions that we partner with in Quebec. Quebec also has some great kind of post-grad work options and opportunity for PR. The one very obvious thing that I will say about Quebec is that it's a French-speaking province through and through. Even when I go to Montreal or I'm in Quebec, I'm always surprised how French it is. And I know that sounds like a silly thing to say as a Canadian, but day-to-day life in Quebec is French. And so if you are excited about that opportunity, if you're great at languages, if you happen to speak French already, go for it. But just know that it's an added stress. I don't want to say stress, but it's a day-to-day thing that you need to think about. Um, if you want to work for the government in Canada, you have to be fully bilingual with English and French. So there's a lot of students that just, like buckle up and go to Quebec and learn French, and they end up getting great jobs. So, I certainly don't deter you from going because of that. But I definitely want to emphasize that day to day life is not English speaking. A lot of people in Quebec don't speak English. Um, eh, so it's just something to consider. I'll leave it at that.
That's great. Thank you, Ritesh. I hope you are clear. Yeah. Moving forward to next question from Sinja Ale. Is University Canada Waste still eligible for PGWP?
Yes. So University Canada West is a private university, but it's not a PPP. So you'll still be able to receive postgrad work permit.
That's great. Thank you, Sinja. Moving forward from a question from Soyas Lama. I'm a graduate in public health and want to pursue my education in master in healthcare management.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it possible and able to have a work permit due to policy changed?
I'm a graduate in public health and want to pursue my education in a master's of healthcare management. Good idea. Is it possible to have a work permit? Yes. So if you're looking to study a master's in healthcare management, again, great idea. Plenty of job opportunities here for that. What you'd be doing is probably be looking to study what we call a course-based master's program. So you're not looking to enter a research master's program. So a course-based program generally will be 2 years of study or 4 terms. And so your first year, will be mostly courses, and your second year will be mostly courses. You can work during that time. You're still limited. All international students are limited to that 20 hours a week. You can only work 20 hours a week on the study permit that you come in. But it doesn't matter if you're a master's student, an undergrad student, a diploma student, it doesn't matter. You're still eligible to work 20 hours a week. And so, just know that a master's program can be um, tough. It's a lot of work. Master's programs aren't easy, but they pay off really well in Canada. You get great jobs, and you generally earn a very high salary, a respectable salary. And so it will be a lot of work to study your master's and work 20 hours a week, but I'm sure you can do it.
That's great. So that's all the question we have. I think we have no more questions left. Yeah. And I hope all of your queries have been clear by now.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria, for making a live session.
You're very welcome. I hope that my answers were informative.
Yes,
Um,
all of
and
your answers were really informative and were clear.
and we'll be back soon, I think, for the next session, right?
Yes, yes. And it was lovely to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I'm going to go to bed. It's 1 a.m.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Take care. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so guys, I hope all of your queries have been clear by now. If you have any further queries, yeah, you can visit us. Our office is located at Charhal Dilli Bazaar at Sunrise Beach Park, opposite to Times College. If you couldn't find the location, you can call us. We are on Google as well. So, and if you have more queries, we are still going to be on live very soon by 5th of Feb 2024. So be in touch, and thank you everyone.